not
Yeah,
the
it
ones
is.
that are not part of the BIA.
Yeah.
So are there plans to add everything that we found? Like Carol has this information, right? Is there plans to put people that other than our members on that, or and of both groups?
There's a plan to invite. So the way we're working with the Forest BIA is we're saying, you know, your members are your members, and the chamber members are chamber members,
Yes.
and we're all partners together.
Right.
And so we're just automatically going to add all those businesses. If a non-member, a non-BIA, non-chamber member, non-associated business of any description wants to join, I think we were going to charge, I think it was like $30 fee to get them in and get them out. But the invite will be there for every business in
Okay.
Mountain.
So how will the businesses that don't know, like let's look at Arbor Acres, for example. I don't believe that they're a member of the chamber, and
No.
I know they're obviously not a member of the BIA. How would they, for example, know to do that? Will that be, I mean, will they get something in, I mean, I know that they have had the magazines in the past. Will somebody, as they're in there, say?
We'll have to invite them. We'll have to either send them a letter, do some print
Okay,
advertising.
but
get
you're
the
planning
word
on
out.
doing something like that?
Absolutely we do,
Okay.
yeah.
You're gonna take that list that's been developed
And I mean, in that list is a work in progress, because there's
That would
always.
be great if we could do maybe a
Yeah,
mailing
you need to
directly
talk to
them.
Carol on that, she has
So
them.
invite them for sure.
The one area that we have to be aware and concerned of is when we are doing booking requests, because we have the web reservations, it's based on our seal of approval. And so there is a can of worms that we all need to be aware of less than accommodations that don't meet anybody's list of quality. So just because it's an issue that has to be dealt with on the finer points. If someone wants to be in and they have a lodging business that you wouldn't let your dog stay in, it has to be dealt with in such a way as it's clearly communicated whether
But
one business is approved and
That
one
would hit
business
this
isn't.
in, you're in to do that, right?
It has to be dealt with
Yeah, we
one
would,
way or the other.
when we had been talking with the Forest BIA, we thought, you know, maybe some small icon could identify Forest BIA members, a small icon could identify chamber members, and the others then, you know, that's then a sort of a consumer beware. You know, if you're booking a place in terms of accommodations, as an example, then it's like, oh, who am I booking with? Is this a chamber member or a Forest BIA member? You know, oh, they're not, okay, well, you know, maybe I'll do a little more due diligence. I'm going to go to their website and check out their photographs and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it has to do at the end of the day, if you were to think about it, there are cottage rentals that we carry on our website. And the euphemism is it family? What's the euphemism that they use?
Family friendly
Family friendly. I mean, some have dogs, some don't. So it's
versus student friendly.
student friendly, that's the word I was looking for. You know, when you're renting a place, you know, that says student friendly, and you're not a student, you need to understand what you're getting. So because of the difficulties specific to parts of Grand Bend, there are varying degrees of enjoyment possible in your renting experience. So we have to be aware when we're advertising that it's clear to people what they're renting.
We actually have an accommodation code of ethics. So an accommodation provider needs to provide a clean room, clean bathroom facilities. They need to advertise their rates and only charge those rates. They can't suddenly charge, you know, an extra $200 when somebody they don't really like shows up the door. Their policies for refund and cancellation and those kinds of things need to be stated and specific and adhered to. So, you know, that there's a fair treatment. I mean, really, if accommodation provider is in it to provide a fair service at a fair cost, that's great. It's sort of the not so kosher kinds of situations that we know exist out there that we don't really want to help promote.
So when somebody applies, or you invite somebody to join on your listing, there'll be boxes they check off that they have this or they have that. And those icons will get shown up on the map.
Right.
And
It's more information that's provided. It's
The
not
most-
simply
yeah.
a listing.
Okay. Councilor Scott?
I have lots of questions, sorry. All right, so, taking a look at the dollars and the things that you want in the end, That's public dollars, that's come from everybody out in all of Lambton Shores. So, our money has to, like, because we're doing for everybody and everybody's taxes, we have to be careful too that when we give money like that there aren't too many, I mean, I understand 4-star, 5-star, 3-star, that sort of thing, but we have to also be aware that the money is coming from everyone. Like, it's not just, like, council isn't handing money over to say, okay, you can do, like, it has to apply to everybody, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's gotta have fair representation, so just throwing that out, like.
I think we do provide
Okay.
fair representation of Lambton Shores in its entirety.
Okay.
I think that you need to strike a careful balance between how you perceive taxpayers' money to be used versus how you want to promote Lambton Shores to a
Yeah.
potential visitor.
No, I understand.
There is that balance. I do know that there are some tourism boards, for instance, that will have set criteria for businesses that they help promote. And that's irrespective, but it comes down to sort of a quality
Yeah.
type thing. So, I mean, ultimately, you know, if there were additional caveats or whatever, I'm sure we can work with that, but I would just sort of, just keep in mind, we want to be tourist focused is what we want to do.
The other way that I could attempt to point the boat in another direction would be to think about if the efforts that we've done and over the last several years that the municipalities assisted in the funding of, those numbers that are there are what the total cost is. And if there's a cost sharing basis, I mean, those are what those numbers are there for. One of the ways that you can, and I would suggest should look at it, are to say if the activities are worth repeating, be it by us or by in-house staff or by a totally new group of people, you can do a request for proposals going forward. There's lots of different ways to do it. If the activities that we embark on can be fully embraced by the municipality in the clear light of day, then we do it, someone else does it, the municipality brings it in-house, it has to be done. And I don't know that there's too many things in this list of activities that are not viewed as worthwhile activities to the lifeblood of the community. That's the nature of it. So whether it's seen as fair or unfair by a cash crop farmer in the bog, it has an impact overall. The expenses, you get value from it, is our point of view. I mean, as Susan spoke of sprucing up the visitor center, volunteer painters. Everything's done, you know, I don't know if that gets done in the municipal buildings, but, you know, I volunteer. We have one paid employee and everyone else is volunteer. So these are worthwhile activities. We believe there are outcomes that are positive. And the monetary requirements are laid out there in the full case of funding. The municipality wish to fund full case.
Okay. We have, I guess, two things. If you go to the road of inviting other businesses, that includes Bedford and Arcona, so that everybody's included. We're trying to base on where we fund this, and that's the discussion we're going to have shortly, I guess, after this presentation. The other thing is, and it was asked last year, and I'm going to ask again, how much is South Huron and our neighboring municipalities contributed, because they are also part of this Red Bend area?
We belong to you. Forest and Grand Band and Fort Franks and Bedford belong here.
I realize.
So, if you're grappling with the idea of making good use of taxpayers' money, and I think we all appreciate that, how could a municipality like South Huron justify financially supporting a tourism service that is clearly promoting?
But if there's businesses such as the Playhouse in Oakwood and Motoplex listed in it, and I know that they're all an asset